David's going to give him a beating, man. To be honest with you, I think David, is going to stop him maybe like in the 9-10 round. Maybe if he would have just hold on a little bit more.
David Benavidez and David Morrell Jr. are set to face off this weekend, generating excitement among boxing fans. Both fighters are young, powerful, and undefeated in the light heavyweight division. Having secured impressive victories in their previous bouts, they now meet for a chance to compete for the undisputed title. Benavidez is coming off a strong win over Alexander Gazik in his first fight at 175 kilos. After moving up from super middleweight and missing a potential fight with Canelo Alvarez, he now holds the WBC interim light heavyweight title. Morrell also moved up to 175 kilos, defeating Ravo Katic for the WBA interim title. The two will now fight for the chance to become the mandatory challenger for the winner of the Benavidez versus Bivol fight. The boxing world has been buzzing about this matchup for months, with many considering it a close contest. Benavidez brings power, size, and relentless pressure, while Morrell is slick, fast, and highly skilled. So, what do the experts say? Chris Algieri kept it simple. At 175, he favors Benavidez, but at 168, he'd lean toward Morrell, praising his exceptional abilities. Either way, it's a tough, closely contested fight. Morrell was dominant at 168, but Benavidez is a powerhouse in the ring. The weight class may ultimately play a key role in the outcome.
There's 3 weeks left of the fight. 3 weeks left of the fight. There's nothing you can do.
I'm waiting for fight tomorrow.
How does it feel?
I'm waiting for fight tomorrow. I don't care, bro.
Leonard Ellerby expects a wild fight, with someone likely hitting the canvas early. Both fighters are determined to make a statement, and the build-up will be filled with drama. Tim Bradley believes Morrell still needs more experience, especially after a subpar last fight. He notes Benavidez can do it all. He's aggressive, but can also box, which could give Morrell trouble. Despite Morrell's talent, with only 11 pro fights, he hasn't faced anyone like Benavidez yet.
I see it as a 50-50 fight, and I know some might say, well, why do you think it's a 50-50 fight? Because, one, we know we've definitely seen a lot from Benavidez over the years. When it comes to Morrell, we've seen, spots of him.
Gabriel Rosado favors Benavidez, but warns not to underestimate Morrell. Caleb Plant noted their different styles, with Morrell being more crafty but passive. He's excited for the fight. David Benavidez's father, Jose Benavidez Sr., caused a stir by saying Caleb Plant is better than Morrell, and criticized Morrell for taking on David too early. He believes David is stronger mentally and physically and will be more powerful in this fight. Benavidez Sr. also questioned why Morrell didn't fight other opponents like Plant or Andrade first.
Want the David versus David fight? I don't think David needs to be giving David an opportunity. David put in the work. The other David needs to go put in some work. And he looked like dog shit in a fight that I thought he lost. I don't care if I'm alone in that fight. I'm good with.
Some fans see this as mind games, while others think it shows fear. Morrell has wanted this fight since 2022, but Benavidez's team only agreed now, possibly hoping Morrell would lose or underperform. Instead, Morrell dominated his last fight. Supporters argue the fighters Benavidez Sr. mentioned wouldn't have helped Morrell. Andrade is 36, Durrell is 40, and Plant likely wouldn't have taken the fight. Morrell's team saw this as the best path to a title shot. If he wins, he becomes the mandatory challenger for Benavidez versus Bivol, with a big payday and a chance to be undisputed.
My brother has way more experience than this guy, way more stronger. I just feel like, it's just a hype. This guy has his hype, and you can see he's scared. In all these past interviews and these past, face-offs, you can tell that guy's scared. He's not. He talks a big talk, but I can tell by his eyes that he's not.
There's a lot on the line for both fighters. Benavidez is one step closer to greatness with a win. The fight will take place at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas and will be available on PBC on Prime Video PPV for $79.95 USD. Tim Bradley feels Morrell still needs more experience and wasn't impressed by his last fight. He believes Benavidez's versatility, his ability to pressure, throw combinations, and box will make it difficult for Morrell.
And David Benavidez face off, it got choppy. David said, I'm going to break your face. Morrell was talking, break down the fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight. Good tough fight for both those guys. They're both undefeated, you know, so one has to lose, but, you know, gotta give them respect. So taking it, it's a good fight. I think it's 50-50.
It's a close fight, maybe 55-45 in favor of Benavidez. The David versus David matchup is exciting, and there's a lot to love about this fight. Benavidez has the edge in experience and true strength. Both are big guys, but Benavidez is a more natural 175-pounder. In a competitive 12-round fight, experience with resistance at various points makes a difference. Morrell hasn't faced that kind of resistance at the pro level. His fight with Benavidez was different. It was more about trying to catch someone who was staying away, something Morrell hasn't dealt with at this level, as Porter pointed out.
Morrell has not had resistance. His fight with Hot Rod, that was a different kind of resistance. That was the resistance of somebody staying away from you, you know what I mean? And him not being able to catch up to him. With Benavidez can bang with them.
Canelo Alvarez is torn on who will win between David Benavidez and David Morrell. He sees it as an even fight, despite Benavidez being the favorite. Canelo praised both fighters as elite athletes in their primes and highlighted Benavidez's fast hands, great jab, and high ring IQ, all shaped by his extensive experience.
I really don't care about that. Even if it was on steroids, I'd beat the shit out of him. But, you know, if you're a dirty fighter, you will get exposed.
David Morrell Jr. is praised for his Cuban skills, speed, and athleticism. Stephen A. Smith calls it a 50-50 fight but favors Morrell. He's a huge fan of Benavidez, admiring his toughness and willingness to fight anyone. Smith respects Benavidez's power, speed, and heart, but wonders if his lack of movement might leave him vulnerable. He's excited to see Benavidez on the big stage.
I always got some kind of contact with this. Always. You may throw yours, okay, cool. But I got contact with you. So I make bing, bing. You can land a jab with a southpaw.
You know what I mean? Just him telling me that he was going to beat me, and then I told him I was going to break his mouth, and I was going to take his belt.
Benavidez, Morrell. How does that fight go?
It's gonna be sick. See, those are the fights that need to happen, man. Those are the fights that the world wants to see. You know, I was talking about Bam, but there's no big names for Bam at 115, 118, maybe a couple, 122, maybe one day, 3 years from now. But Benavidez, you know, and Morrell.
Exposed. You know what I mean? That's why they were making such a big. They didn't want to test. But dirty fighters will be exposed in this game. You know what I mean? And that's not good for the sport, and it's not good for people, you know, to use steroids. So, you know, I'm not going to let...
What's the status of that right now, the testing? What is being used?